In 2015, there was a high-profile arrest in Mumbai that opened the lid on an alleged murder of her daughter by her mother, her two former husbands, and her driver. In the days to come, the case only got darker, with the most intimate details of their lives being played out in the public. The daughter in question, Sheena Bora, and the mother, Indrani Mukerjea, a top human resource consultant and the founder of INX Media. I'm Mansi Phadke, Deputy Editor with ThePrint, and joining me in conversation today is Indrani, who has written a book, Unbroken, her memoir, her version of her entire life and everything that happened, and that is what we'll be talking about today. So to begin with, Indrani, why did you decide to write Unbroken, and what was the process like?
While I was in prison, which was almost 6.5 years, actually a little bit over 6.5 years, 6 years, 8 months to be precise. We will talk about why I needed to spend so much time there later.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of time in hand.
And also you were, from what I understand, you were kept solitary for a very, not exactly solitary, but away from other prisoners for a very long time.
No, I was always kept separately.
Okay.
I think there were security issues.
Right.
So I think those are orders that come from court
Right.
when any prisoner goes in. So that is how it normally works. But I had a lot of time in my hands, also, I needed to go through the process of emotions that I felt every single day. There were days I would get very, very kind of enraged. Why me? There were days I would kind of try to make sense of why it all happened, not really get angry, but try to figure out
Right.
like, why did it happen to me? What is it that I have done or not done to go through what I was going through? And the allegation itself was ridiculous in my mind, but I could not really figure out in my head for a very, very long time why such a serious allegation was made. And during that period, initially I spent a lot of time, obviously, going through my charge sheet, reading it over and over, and so that I could really figure out what these allegations were and what the loopholes were. And obviously I figured out over it, and I did a lot of studying of several law books, etc. And in time, I realized that obviously there was a big conspiracy to ensure that I was behind bars. Clearly, someone wanted to shut my voice down. That was what it was. And as the realization came, because one thing I realized after reading the charge sheet, that this is a case I am going to win. For two reasons. One is obviously the crime never happened, right? So that is one. And because the crime never happened, it's a very weak charge sheet. But a lot of people ensured that I stayed behind bars for a long time. But the second thing that came to my mind, that while I'm in prison, I am not in a position to speak out. I could have asked my lawyers to speak on my behalf, but I did not want to do that. So I used that time, particularly my time during the pandemic, where the courts were shut and we were all pretty much inside prison most of the time. I used that time to start writing. And this book is basically my voice. A voice which would remind everyone that, albeit for a brief period, it is not 6.5 years, is not a brief period, but when you look at a lifetime, perhaps I would look at it as a brief period. So I thought that it is very important to take my time and to look into all the things that were said and talked about by people perhaps who knew me knew of me, and some people who did not know me at all had their moment in the sun. They ran around giving interviews the moment I was arrested. And so I thought it was very important to respond to all of that. For example, when I came out, and since I have written in the book, I can say that now. I saw a lot of those interviews because while you are in prison, you can read, of course, newspapers, but you cannot see, watch. I've seen television interviews, right? But not to that, because also the prison staff that were very mindful that if there was any news connected to me, they would ensure that I don't see it, just so that I don't get disturbed. So there was, I have written about the lady in the book, so I don't want to take the name. And what I really found very odd, because she also gave a statement for, to the CBI. She could not remember the first place she worked in because it's in the statement, you know. So the CBI asked her, which is the first organization you work for? She said, I don't remember. But she seemed to have remembered a message that I sent her in 2002.
Okay.
So clearly, either she's very obsessed with me, that's it, or I clearly play a very important role in her life, you know.
Yeah, that's true. And your book also delves a lot into your early, you know, the childhood and early adulthood. It was pretty traumatic having to go through what you did when your father raped you, you know, as per what you've written in the book at the age of 14 and 16. And this is what led you to Sheena, as you say, in some ways. And that's a very complicated base to start off a new relation with. So how was your relationship with Sheena Bora?
See, I have already written that in the book.
Right.
I want people to read the book.
Of course.
So if I talk about it now, I think it is going to defeat the purpose. So I think I will leave it. Of course I loved her. I mean, I love all my children, you know. That is, people can judge me and decide I'm a bad mother or a good mother, or I'm a mother. It's as simple. There are no good mothers or bad mothers. A mother is a mother. It's as simple as that, right?
Absolutely. I'm a mother myself, so I can completely understand what you're saying.
So it is all, I, you know, have chosen to raise my kids the way I choose to. And I don't think anybody else is in a position to decide what is best for my children. I will decide it as a mother. And if anybody has an opinion, I never really give any opinions on how someone else should raise their kids or what their relation should be. And I feel, you know, then again, once again, I feel that I think people have a lot of time in their hands to really decide on whether I'm a good mother, bad mother. They have really a lot of time in their hands.
But you know, in your book, you also say, and I quote, a child and a mother are connected by instinct. It doesn't matter if they are physically together or miles apart.
Yes.
And you said this in relation with your own mother, but what did your instinct tell you about Sheena?
My instinct at the moment, you know, I still feel somewhere she's out there somewhere. Okay, this is my instinct. Now, I have not met her personally, so I cannot say that, but it is very, very well established in court that Sheena was alive well after the alleged date of murder. That's got established in court. There are several people who have also, who have claimed to have met Sheena, who have also gone and filed affidavits in court and who have gone out to the press to say, yes, we have met. So I instinctively, intuitively, I feel she's somewhere there. That is what my intuition says. Because there is nothing to establish that she's not alive, you see. So by going by that logic, and as a mother, I do not wish to believe that she's not alive.
And how was your relationship with Mikhail? What is he doing now? Are you still in touch with him?
I am not in touch with
Okay.
Mikhail at the moment for two reasons. One is because he's a witness in the case.
Okay.
And, my lawyers may recall him. So I would not kind of jeopardize a fair trial
Right.
by contacting me.
A
He's
witness,
not
yeah.
contacted me. So even if he would have contacted me, it would have been, I would have been obliged to inform the court because,
That's the process.
yeah.
Throughout, so basically you describe yourself as a strong, ambitious, beautiful woman, and you say that many people perhaps had a problem with that. But when you read the book, the reader is left with the impression that a lot of things happened to you. Certain key decisions in your life were taken by somebody else about you, and you had to go along. So how do you reconcile these two facts? The fact that you want to be, or you feel that you are a strong woman, and just that life kept on happening to you as you went by.
See, there are certain things in life you cannot control. Like we are sitting here, if the roof falls on our head, we cannot control that, right? Or if there's a tsunami, we are just sitting by the sea. I don't think that's in our control. But then if there is a tsunami and this building falls, I'll try to swim. And I'll try to save my life. And that is what I think I have continued to do. And I think instinctively I am a survivor. I think all human beings are. But I think that is why I feel that I'm strong. And even though as much as possible, I have tried always to keep people around me happy, but then again, you cannot keep everyone happy. So at some point in time, you need to look out for yourself as well. See, when I left Guwahati, people forget that I was
you were very young. Yeah. You'd not even started your life. Yeah.
Exactly. I had not started my life. And it was a decision taken by a 18-year-old.
Right.
Probably my decisions today would have been very different. I don't know. Maybe I would have still done the same thing. But, people have decided to judge me based on decisions that I took at the age of 18 or a decision that I took at the age of 21 or at 25. So the only, I think, constant in life is change, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is, but I do believe that I am strong from within. Strong does not mean hard, okay? I am, I think, reasonably soft. That is why, and I'm not as wise as I would like to believe. Otherwise, I wouldn't continue, falling into these circumstances. But albeit it's all right. I have never believed that I am perfect. You fail, and it's the law of averages. And at some point, that's nature's way. You fail and you win some, right? So I think you have to learn to embrace your failures and your victories. And that is how I look at it. And the strength when I talk about is inner strength. And because I have been strong, despite the fact that I was totally abandoned in prison, I could get up, fight. I fought everybody. And I filed for a divorce from prison.
Yeah.
I filed for a divorce because, for me, it was a very big realization that I got married to Peter because I fell in love with him. It's a relationship, it was a long relationship of 2 decades.
Yes.
And when the love vanished, I did not want to put up. I'm not a kind of person who would just stay in a relationship to keep up pretenses. to keep up appearances,
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I think it's as simple as that.
But you wish you could have done things differently. If you had a chance to take certain decisions differently, how would you go about it?
See, everybody, I think, wishes for a so-called normal life, but there is something I have realized during my journey in so many years. I think everybody has issues.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own dark secrets, their own skeletons in the closets, which is why I think they take some, they take pleasure in other people's misfortunes, or because it gives them a sense of, I think that, belonging, probably, that, or that I am better. It could be, I think it is all very subjective. And but at the end of the day, I think this stint, I would say, or my time in prison, I think has been a very, very humbling experience for me. And it has enabled me to, I think, embrace the realities in life. And that also, it has taught me to appreciate the privileges that we just take for granted in life.
Right. And I mean, yeah, the transition from an upscale worldly apartment to Baikala Women's Jail, that must have not been easy. How did you adjust to, whole new life without much support from the people who you were counting on?
Initially, that transition was obviously, it was a shock to my system, right? Initially. But then over a period of time, human beings adapt to circumstances and external circumstances. I think that's all human beings do it. And over a period of time, I think I started, adapting to it. I started feeling comfortable. Initially, I had aches and pains when I slept on the floor. But then I started really liking the fact that, I think it's very good for your back, sleeping on a hard floor. It really is. In fact, when I came out, I found it difficult to sleep on the mattress. So it is just that. It is... when I went in, and then the diet is a very simple, oil-free diet.
You also lost a lot of weight while you were in prison.
Yes, I did. Yes. I did. Because it is, again, I was not eating very well. I wouldn't say that the prison food was not good. It was reasonably, it was the dal, chawal, sabji. And you could buy your eggs and you could buy whatever fruits and nuts and all of that. But initially, I don't think... food was a priority for me. It was just trying to come to terms with or understand that why all of this is happening to me. And waiting for days on end for Peter to visit me, which didn't happen till he got arrested. Obviously, then things changed, and you kind of realize it when you... Oh, on this note, I must, though it is not a part of the book, but I cannot resist but not say this. Because yesterday I saw something in the newspapers which was a very interesting headline. And this is what I'm saying, so people are so obsessed with me, I didn't even realize. I don't know whether... Venu had said this, this is Dhoot from
Videocon.
Videocon. I believe there was a witness who went in, said in court that Venugopal had, Dhoot had told Chanda Kochar that, you might end up in the same prison or room as Indrani Mukerjea if you don't mend your ways. And the irony of life is that I saw this yesterday and I said, really? And I think, but now I feel if he really said this, because, witnesses sometimes are also put up by prosecution. I can tell you that, so I don't know whether he's really said it. But I think now he has his own personal experience of spending and doing time in Arthur Road jail. So next time I think he has any concerns about people who are in kind of cases of financial fraud, I think he can talk to them about and warn them about what it is like in prison, because he's done time in prison right after making that statement. So I think karma, I believe, this is my feeling, is seriously a cape, a hero without a cape, and karma has its own way, the universe has its own way of, giving justice.
So how did you spend your days in jail, other than writing the book?
I think initially I was dealing with the grief, because when till the charge sheet came and till the DNA expert really came and deposed, until I got into the details of it, in my head, something really happened to Sheena. Okay, right? That is what I thought, that, oh God, that must be her body. It is not who has done it, but it was the grief of dealing with, losing a child. That is the first I was dealing with that grief. Then the grief of being abandoned by the family. And the third is that who is it who has done this to my daughter, and for what, and why frame me for it? And that too after 3 years. Right? So all of that process, I was processing all of that.
Yeah.
So that entire process took a lot of time. And then I, in fact, didn't even touch my charge sheet for a long time, because I think it took me 6 months even after the charge sheet. And then suddenly Peter was arrested.
Right.
So that was another big drama. So, it was just, I think, a very sad phase in my life. And I spent a lot of time in grief. And once I realized that it was a bogus charge sheet, then it was anger. And it was also anger towards, the system, and towards, initially it was all of that. But then I made peace with myself, and I realized that, people do things because in their own heads, I think people justify things that they do.
But you also talk about in your book, how women, when they are accused for any crime, are vilified way more than perhaps their male counterparts.
Yes.
And you also talk about how difficult it is for women in prisons. And you've spoken about being abandoned by families, or being judged, shunned is not very uncommon in this context. What did you see when you were in prison?
I think fingers are always pointed at women, whether you're inside prison or outside prison. You just need to slip very little, even in society, outside the walls of prison, right, as a woman, and you have everybody gunning for you. So that is, I think, nothing is different in prison as well.
Okay.
And the sad part is, what I have seen in prison is that I've met, like everybody in prison is not guilty, everybody is also not innocent.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of women get pushed into crime by their own families. But the moment they are in prison, very easily they are abandoned by their families, by the in-laws for sure, sometimes by their own children. But I have also seen that women are overall very, very strong, and they find their ways and means to survive in prison. Everything is medical is free. You get all medical facilities there, food is free. And for the additional whatever things that they require to buy. I think, what they usually do, sometimes they work for the prison,
Right.
for cleaning and
Right.
those kind of things, or they work for other prisoners. They help out with washing of clothes and things. But I think there is a sense of sisterhood and everyone
Supporting each other in some ways.
supporting
Yeah.
each other. Like, it was very sweet. This is one incident I remember when I went in. Somebody sent me the second day. Of course, the guards didn't allow it, but very sweetly they sent me some chutney. They sent me some
Okay.
pickle the next day that in case I don't eat spicy food, but in fact, I found the prison food a bit spicy till
Okay.
then I asked for blander food, which they were very kind to organize that bland food for me. In fact, I had a home food order as well, but I didn't get home food because I got used to it, and it was nice. It was actually quite okay. It's at the end of the day, I think we all eat our dal, roti, sabji, and that is what we all eat, whether it's at home or in prison. And the prison had some very nice dal, by the way.
Okay.
So most of these women, particularly from unprivileged backgrounds or less privileged backgrounds, who get pushed into crime. So very often when they come out of prison on bail or they are acquitted, they tend to get back into crime again because they are treated by society as outcasts, even though they have been acquitted, right? And they don't have family support.
Right.
But what I realized that it is very important to kind of give them some form of vocational training. So, which is an exercise actually I have taken up now. I have tied up with this NGO called Insaniyat, which is Worli based.
Okay.
And it is a BJP kind of work initiative, and he's a very, very good kind of person, and he is helping me with the entire infrastructure, and I will be starting this process along with him, where every month we are trying to give some form of vocational training, whether it is candle making, or it could be soap making, it could be weaving, bags, computer training for people who are a bit more literate, so that they can kind of go out and do jobs. And it's not just about women prisoners, it is also women who are at home, but their husbands or their fathers are in prison and they are having to support the families
by themselves.
by themselves.
But as you said, in tough times, it's the simple acts of kindness that kind of help you keep going.
It helped me keep going, and I realized a lot of things. Like, I didn't know that I could actually write. And when I was writing, when I started writing, because you don't have access, I didn't have access to a computer that I could type it out, right? So my cell was full of prison notebooks. We could buy notebooks from the prison shop. And I actually wrote my book in the traditional way, where
handwritten.
It's handwritten, ink to paper. And so it was very, very interesting. And I'd write. I also bought, earlier times there were no kind of whiteners. So all I used to buy from the canteen was my notebooks, lots of pens, and a lot of whiteners, so that every time I didn't have to kind of keep.
Right.
And I wrote it to precision of, the punctuations or the commas. and I counted each page. I'd count the words. And I'd kind of at the bottom, I wish actually I'd brought it here, and I'd make a word count. And I ended up writing, by the time I was out of prison, I wrote 24 chapters, and I completed some 129,000 words. And the remaining part of it I wrote once I was
later
out.
On. So your case, as sensational and bone-chilling as it may have been, it was also very political at one point of time.
Right.
Rakesh Maria was the Mumbai CP when you were arrested, and from what he has written in his book, which was published a few years ago, he clearly seems to have believed in your case, in the case against you, very strongly.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say that Ahmed Javed, who took over as Mumbai CP after him, and Devin Bharti, who is currently the special CP Mumbai, they were both known to the Mukherjee family, socially. And in fact, he's described Ahmed Javed as a Mukherjee-friendly CP, and accused Devin Bharti of not informing the police machinery about Sheena's supposed disappearance in 2012. So all of that politics was also going on. Did it impact how your case, investigation, etc. was handled, or how you were treated at different points of time?
I was never really treated badly, but the very fact that, see, Rakesh Maria can only speak for himself. I do not want to comment on what I don't think much of him. Okay, so I will, and I have, that is why I'm coming on record to say that. But there also must be a reason why he was not considered suitable enough to carry on with the investigation, right? So, so I have very little to say about that, really. I think that is a question I think one should ask Rakesh Maria. But what is really interesting is that what he described in his book is totally different from what came in my charge sheet. So, so which the details I've written again in the book with a quote from the book. So that speaks for itself. So if all the investigating agencies come up with different theories, and these are all theories, you see. So again, I have learned to believe in nothing but evidence now. I was never like that. But now I think the only thing that really works in life, not just in court, is just evidence, and the proof of the pudding lies in eating it, right? The fact is that, the 6 years, 8 months that I spent, I don't think I can be compensated. I'm not talking about financial or economic compensation, but nobody can return that time. The emotional turmoil that I went through is something I don't think anybody can, make up for that.
And what's happening with the case now? Where is it at?
I had applied for a speedy trial, and the Honorable Court has been very kind to allow my plea, so they have allowed it. But I think it is just going at a still at a very slow pace. This is what I feel. But to be because sometimes the witnesses don't show up, and then even when the witnesses show up, it's like all very, I think the case has collapsed.
This book, Unbroken, do you see this as part of your legal journey, or do you see this as part of your image battle? And how would you want the world to see
this is neither an image battle nor a part of my legal journey. This book is a catharsis, and for me, I think it is a closure for me. This book is basically a closure of me responding to all that was said about me, all the things that have happened in my life, and being able to talk about it. Also, there are very strong messages that I have put out in this book. And the reason I have written this book is because I have addressed issues of child abuse, which families, even today, it happened to me, right? Where even today it is kept under wraps. Whether it is a boy child or a girl child, these things are not brought out. I think people should have the courage, parents in particular, should have the courage to come out to the open and talk about this and provide the proper justice to children, which I did not get. And I was vilified for something I had no control. I was a child. That is one. I could not defend myself, right? What other choice did I have but leave home? And I was looked upon as an ambitious woman because I decided to leave home as a child because I couldn't deal with what was going on in my life and there was nobody to defend me. So that is the other thing that I have also addressed here, is that I think it is time that people understand that it is not a crime for a woman to be ambitious, to be good looking, to be able to live her life the way she wants to.
And final question from my side. So, what perhaps was the most shocking aspect of this case is that it hit at the very nerve center of this whole celebrated mother-daughter bond.
Yeah.
After everything that you've been through and all of your relationships as a mother or as a daughter have been complicated in one way or the other, where initially when you talk about how your mother did not back you, your mother did not speak up for you, and everything else that followed later on. After, having lived through everything, how do you reflect on this mother-daughter bond?
Personally, I feel I have at least never, Sheena has never at any point, though it became headlines that I was a bad mother, she has never at any point expressed any grievance or grouse of me being a bad mother. And in fact, we were very, very close. You asked me that question earlier, but we were very, very close. In fact, I had a even stronger bond with her than I had. Vidhi was a child at that point. And now, of course, Vidhi and myself, now she's a woman.
Yes.
When I went to prison, she was a child. So we are bonding. I personally feel, I think, it's not just about mother-daughters. The expectations in this world from mothers are very unreal. People tend to forget, like I said earlier, there are no good mothers or bad mothers. A mother is a mother. And any mother, I think, would take a bullet for her child. Any mother would do it at any age. I would do it now. I would do it if I live up to 90. I would do it for my child, right? So would you as a mother. But, because you become a bad mother if you want to pursue a career, or if you have left your children with your parents to pursue a career. So all this is, I think, just, these are opinions, right? Every mother does what is best for the child. And I think every parent, whether it's a father or a mother, should be allowed to have their own independent relationships the way they wish to with their children.
Yes, well said. And we'll end on that note. Thank you so much for this interesting conversation. And this is Unbroken, published by HarperCollins, a very gripping read. Thank you so much to our viewers for watching. For The Print, Mansi Fadke.